Hi everyone, welcome to the Sunday Night Indigenous Sex and Love Show. I'm here with my co-host Edward Sear. My name is Summer Lavallee. We're on our 7th episode today. This episode is about second dates and the dating process.
Absolutely. Now in episode 2, which was an episode all based on what to do on first dates, what not to do, and how to get through that first date, we have promised to make you 2 more videos. The second video being what to do after you've surpassed the first date and you're moving on to dating more consistently. And the third episode is going to be on how to keep the fire in the relationship once you've already started the relationship. So once you've started dating somebody and you're seeing them a little bit more consistently and more casually, and you've kind of surpassed that first step, what are some things that you can do to increase your likeliness of becoming an item? So first we're going to talk about what not to do. And so we talked a little bit about over pursuing, and so we'll let Lauren talk a little bit about what that might look like.
So over pursuing someone means like you're not giving them space, and like you're constantly seeking attention and validation from them. So over pursuing is associated with like neediness, clinginess, insecurity, seeking validation from others. So like when you're texting somebody, for today, like a big form of communication for people nowadays is texting and phone calls. If you're texting them back to back, if you're phoning them back to back, that's an indication that that you're too invested and that you're putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's nothing more, and we've talked to a lot of people, there's nothing than a bigger turnoff than having 25 missed phone calls from somebody that you're not even in a relationship with yet, that you're just starting to date. And so that actually, I know our intention sometimes when we're calling them and texting them is to show them how much we care about them and how much we want them, but sometimes that can have the opposite effect, and can actually be pushing those people away from us when we're just trying to tell them how much we care about them.
You have to give people freedom. You have to give them the space and freedom to choose you and to choose to communicate with you, because that way it's more natural and more organic when you're building a relationship like that.
Absolutely. And sorry, I just have my notes on here as well. So we did talk about texting and phone calls, being mindful to avoid too much of that. Now, this is another big relationship killer in the early stages, and that's how we react and respond when we find out someone we're dating is dating someone else. Now remember, when we're in the dating process, they're people that we're dating may have already be dating someone else. They might have a long-term relationship that they're just getting out of. So being conscious of that is also really important, and how we respond and act when we find that information out. Now the best way to deal with this is about communicating. And I'll let Lauren go a little bit about what that might look like as well.
So I think it's really important when you're first starting to see somebody to set your boundaries and expectations very clearly. Like I'm casually dating right now. I'm not looking to settle down. Like I'm not looking for a long-term relationship. I just want to have fun.
Or if you're is the opposite and you're looking for a relationship, also communicate that as well. So if someone's seeing multiple other people, just having that communication about that's just really important.
Yeah, it sets a better tone and a fair understanding for both of you, what you should expect from each other. And when you have expectations, you're able to distinguish like if the person is respecting you or not, if they're respecting your boundaries and the relationship that you guys do have momentarily.
And I think the key word here is about setting boundaries. And I think especially when we become sexually intimate with somebody and we start developing, having sex and being very intimate with each other, that's a really good time to start talking about exclusivity and creating dynamics around and boundaries around your relationship. Because when you're becoming intimate, the relationship is evolving and changing, and you're sharing such an intimate part of yourself by sharing your body, right? So I want to remind people to please wear condoms as well, especially when they're in the dating process, just to practice that safe sex. But that's a good time to also have those discussions is once you start becoming really intimate. You might want to know, are you seeing other people? If we're going to be sharing our bodies, could we just be sharing with one another?
Yeah, what was that teaching that you had shared with me earlier?
One person in my sweat lodge at a time, as one of the female elders taught me. And I think that was a really really sacred teaching. She said, you know, we want to be conscious of who we're letting inside of our bodies, inside of our soul, inside of our temple, and to make sure that we're only letting one person in at a time, because you know it's a very sacred place. So we want to lean next into sorry, just give me 1 second here. Is when and how you get into an actual relationship and become exclusive with somebody. So some of the things that we've talked about is that if you're traveling in the same direction as somebody, so both with your personal, your relationship, and your professional goals and ambitions are aligned, this is a good thing to be conscious of. And they often say that attraction, people who are very opposite, they attract, but they have a hard time maintaining that long-term attraction because they are heading in different directions. So even though we find them really appealing and very interesting, if their values and morals and their customs and traditions are different than our own, we find ourselves in conflict, right, in confrontation. So I'll let you. Do you want to piggyback a little bit on that?
So in terms of exclusiveness, it's important to have an ongoing conversation about that. So because people's desires and their goals change constantly, so it's always important to talk to the other person, like, you know, where do you stand with us right now? Like, are you still looking to get to know each other better and, like, you know, continue to grow together, or do you want to grow separately and go our own ways? You know, it's always important to have that ongoing conversation. Is what my sister actually shared with us today, because she's the one filming right now.
Absolutely. So we want to thank Summer Lavallee for taking the time. This is take 2, so she's already spent 17 minutes with us already, so she's doing it all over again. Thank you so much. But what Summer was saying to us earlier in a conversation about was how do you know when it's time to go exclusive? And she said, having that ongoing communication while you're dating. So when you're dating the person and you're going on dates with them and you're being intimate with them, to have consistent flowing communication about the direction of the relationship, because those act as our navigation systems on where we stand with others, is through our communication, right? And that's going to lead me right into what we talked about, love being an action word.
Yeah.
And so I'll go ahead, Lauren, you can go on this part.
So we were talking about earlier, like, love gestures, and like that brought us to the conversation of the 5 love languages. So there's 5 love languages. There's words of affirmation, so that's telling the person, like, I do like you a lot, like I do see a future with you, you know. There's also the second one is touch, so physically touching them, showing that, you know, you are attracted to them, that, you know, that there is that physical aspect to your relationship. The third one is acts of service. So I do this very often, so doing things, like doing favors for the other person to show with your actions that you care. So, you know, taking them out for lunch or surprising them at work with flowers, you know, that's an example of acts of service.
Do you show up at people's works with flowers?
No, but I show up with goodies sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
If they're feeling sad, I'll show up with a cookie, or I'll show up with a latte or whatever. And the fourth one was gift giving. So I also do that a lot. I like giving gifts, so buying them a necklace, or buying them
clothing,
or buying them just something that piques their interest. Yeah.
Symbolizes your care and compassion for them.
And then the fifth one was quality of time. So giving your time to that person. So going out of your way to give them undivided attention, making sure that your time, that they're a priority in your time. So going out of your way to set up dates and to go see them. Those are the 5 love languages.
And I think it's so important, especially when you're in the early dating process, and that's to make time, right, for the other person. And I think that means a lot. And you can, because when you're making time and you're giving your time, you can practice any one of those love languages to express how much you really care about them. And so these are just some ideas of what you should be doing in the dating process, making sure you're not being overbearing, that you're letting things grow organically, that you're having ongoing communication, that you're still having the dating and going out and interacting with each other and expressing the 5 love languages to show. Now we want to give you 5 different dates that you can go on after you've survived the first date, and these are really, really helpful because we wanted to make sure, me and Lauren also brainstorm affordable, attractive, and enjoyable dates for you. Now the first date option that we have for you. You can tell we work at the Native Canadian Centre of Toronto because we want to. I'll let Lauren tell this one.
So, no, I want you to tell it. You're
Okay, so fine.
That's
So let
right.
me advertise our organizations and agencies. For a long time, the Cultural Department Social, which is run every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 16 Spadina, has been a long-standing snag spot at our Aboriginal social where people of all different cultures, all different nationalities, and all different clans come to meet, and it's a great date option as well. And I'll tell you why it's a great date option, because A, the food is provided, it's free of charge, so it doesn't cost anything to eat there. It has drumming, singing, dancing, community festivities, and just it's a lot of stimulation that's very enjoyable. Out the front they have a traditional fire with burning of medicines, and once again we are the Sunday night Indigenous sex and love soap, so we want to incorporate our culture always as a form of showing our love and appreciation. And so I'll let you go on to what's our date number 2.
Number 2 is a walk through the park. So you can go to Brickworks, you can go to High Park, you can go to the beaches, and just have a nice date at the park. So bring a blanket, bring some snacks, bring a picnic basket, and bring your portable speaker to set the mood.
Right.
And you could just have a really fun, intimate time there, talk and get to know the person and just really enjoy each other's presence.
Absolutely, and this is like you can do that for under $20-$30. It doesn't cost much to buy a little bit of fruits and vegetables, a couple sandwiches, maybe some coffees or some adult beverages for our older viewers. And once again, that's costs you nothing. You lie out the blanket, you eat some food. The little mini speakers really help create the romance, so you can have, you know what I'm saying, your Celine Dion playing in the background, or your country music, whatever your shindig is. And so the third date that we wanted to talk about, which is a great date as well, is the incorporation of free sports. So things like throwing a baseball around, throwing a football around, throwing a frisbee around, playing basketball, soccer, anything that gets you up, gets your cardiovascular moving, because it's also a scientifically proven fact that exercise increases endorphins in our brain, which help us experience pleasure and happiness. So if we have an attraction to somebody and we're releasing these endorphins, our attraction naturally increases for that person. And it's a great way to also incorporate physical touch, because after you start dating somebody, if you're really attracted to them, at some point you're probably going to want to have physical touch, and eventually maybe even have sexual relations with the person that you're dating. And so we really want to talk about sports being, once again, affordable, enjoyable, and very entertaining and very beneficial to dating. So that's the third date option we have.
And the fourth one, we actually have more than 5. So what are we on? We're on the.
I think we're going to transition over to winter.
Okay, so for the winter one, I guess another form of sports would be skating or tobogganing. And Edward was saying, skating is a great one because you could just go rent some skates at Nathan Phillips Square or your local community center. And he was saying that even if you don't know how to skate, it could still work out. It's actually very cute and it's very fun, and it's a great bonding experience if one party doesn't know how to skate.
Well, can you skate, Lauren?
No, I can't skate.
Skate. So how would you feel going on a date if you didn't know how to skate? Would you feel comfortable, nervous?
I'd feel really nervous, but if I had someone there to have the patience and teach me, it would be really nice, and it'd be a nice bonding experience.
I agree, and it also creates a dynamic for hand holding to happen, to be linking arms, to be creating that physical touch that can sometimes be so awkward in the initial stages, right? When you first start dating, when do you kiss? When do you touch? How do you initiate that? So when there's a vulnerability introduced, it almost creates a cute way to also create physical touch. See, I'm a great skater. I just can't stop. So, that's one of the different ones. And once again, tobogganing is a great one. Creates physical touch. It's fun. It's downhill. And then, what was the other one that we wanted to lean into?
At-home dinner dates.
Yes. And this is for people who have already built a little bit of a relationship, because we are, Laura and I are always constantly conscious of the sexual, physical, mental, and emotional abuse that happens to Indigenous women, and we are conscious of the alarming rates of murdered and missing Indigenous women. And so we always want to create safe boundaries that protect not just our Indigenous women, but our Indigenous community members.
Yep.
So until you're feeling comfortable to go to someone's home, we want you to build that relationship for just so that you're that you're keeping
protecting yourself. Yeah.
Another good practice to do is to just, if you are going to someone's house, to text your friend the address, where you're staying, the information of the person. That's just to keep us safe. But once you're at a person's house and you're comfortable, dinner date is an amazing date. It gets you up interacting with one another. It's affordable. You could be making scone dogs or Indian tacos, or whatever your favorite traditional beef stew is. For our friends up in the northern areas, maybe you guys got a good chunk of seal meat, or some polar bear, and you're really ready to get things hot and heavy in the kitchen. So.
You're hilarious. So that's another idea, and then just to touch base with more like community events, just like as a bonus. There's also going to protest rallies, fighting the pipelines you can do as a date, going to powwows. And then for this fall season, the Imaginative Film Festival is coming up, so the tickets for that are really affordable, and all the films are always incredible, and that would be a great day place to take somebody on.
Absolutely. And just to remind people, if any of these things weren't useful, one of the great things to do is to just access Google, find out Toronto events that are happening. There's always festivals that are both within the Aboriginal culture and outside. There's nothing wrong with going and enjoying other festivities as well, whether it's going to Little India or Chinatown or any of the other amazing diverse cultures that we have here in this beautiful city of Toronto. So we want to encourage people to do that. There's also lots of great things to do down at the port, at the bay, near the water. There's boats and stuff like that. So we want to, even just getting out and walking is also a great day. So we want to thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Sunday Night Indigenous Sex and Love Show. We hope some of this stuff was helpful to you. And once again, me and Lauren are so grateful for all your support.
Thank you so much.
And we hope you continue to share the videos, because that helps us increase our following, which helps us raise awareness. And our whole goal is to start creating a safe and secure place for our young people to have dialogue around sex and relationships.
So thank you, everyone. Enjoy your long weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
Be safe.